Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Rukus Rush Reviews. Today I'm going to be looking at Magic Maze by Dude Games. Magic Maze is a cooperative game for 1 to 8 players where you play as fantasy characters who've teleported into a mall and are trying to look for the weapons that they need so they can steal them and get back to the battle. This game is played in real time with a timer, but it is very different than any other game that I have ever played before. In Magic Maze, players control all 4 characters, but twist number 1, they can only move the characters in certain directions. Players have to constantly keep up with all 4 characters, where they are in the mall, where they're trying to go with the characters, and then of course always making sure, is the direction I move the player, is that the direction I need to go? Because there is a method that has to be there. You have to explore the entire place. You have to make sure that all of these rooms are explored. Each area that has a door that needs to be opened, those doors are of a certain color. So that character has to be the one who goes to that door for it to be searched. And each character has a specific location where they need to go to get the weapon that they're looking for, as well as a specific location that they need to go to get out of the mall. But twist number 2, you are not allowed to actually talk to each other during this game. Of course, to combat the not being able to talk to each other part, they have this giant pawn called the do something pawn, where you can just pound on the table in front of somebody to let them know that you want them to do something. You're not allowed to tell them where they need to go. You're not allowed to tell them who you want them to use or anything about what you want them to do, but just tell them that they need to do something. Now, this game does a really good job of introducing all the concepts in there slowly. At first, you start out with only one exit that everybody needs to go through, and then they add in the extra exit so that everybody has their own exit. And then they have to where every time you flip the timer over, you have to pass your roll on to the next person, so you're constantly getting new rolls over and over again. And then they start adding in specific skills for specific characters. At this point, the game does start to get a little bit confusing and a little bit overwhelming for some people. Another really interesting aspect to this is this timer. The timer has a certain amount of time on it. I haven't timed it. They won't tell you what it is. You're not supposed to use a digital timer because there's a specific way that this works. You flip it over at the beginning of the game and the sand runs down. But as the sand starts to get low, you have these little spots on the board marked with an hourglass. And you can move a character onto one of those spots. When you move the character onto one of those spots, then you put an X on that spot and you flip this timer over. Wherever it is, that's where you flip it over. And now you have that much time left. So if it's down to here, sometimes you want to try and get it as low as you possibly can before you flip it over so that you're adding the most amount of time as possible. But if you were to flip it when it was right here, now you've only got a few seconds left in the game. All of these aspects work together to create a really intense but extremely satisfying situation, especially once everything starts to jive and everybody starts working together the right way. As you move on and you get to the end where you have included everything in the game, it actually does get rather difficult, especially once you get to the point where you're supposed to pass your roll around. Then it becomes really interesting because you really get to this point where you're like, okay, I'm moving up. That's what I do. And then somebody passes you, move left. So now you have to move left and you have to rewire your thinking so that you're moving left because you're no longer allowed to move up. At this point, this is our go-to real-time game. It is amazing. Absolutely amazing. If we want a game that's just going to take us a few minutes, this is the game. This game is intense. It's extremely, extremely fun and a very, very easy game to teach, easy game to figure out how to play, but has just the right amount of challenge to it. I will say the game says that it's for 1 to 8 players. I would not suggest at all playing more than 4 players because at that point you have 2 people who have the same role, and I found it to be actually quite confusing. I also was not a huge fan of the solo mode. In the solo mode you have a stack of tiles and you flip one over and you're allowed to do that action, and you flip the other one over and you can do that action until you're done with that one. And it just felt a little bit tedious to me, ultimately. Plus, you don't get that cooperative aspect like you do when you're playing with more players. A lot of the satisfaction of the game, as far as I'm concerned, actually comes with being able to work together with other people that you're not allowed to talk to. And, well, there's nobody else there to talk to, so it kind of takes away one of the major hooks of the game.